All right, everybody, it's a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas, and today I have an hour or so to work on this BMW. So let me flip this around, show you what I'm dealing with, and then see what we can get done in this limited amount of time. All right, so I'm going to try to sneak the camera in there. The engine is not level. I'm looking at the Crossmember issues I'm running into now. And you can see I do have space there. It is off the Crossmember a little bit. I'm still waiting on the motor mounts to try to get the height right. And this pan has been shortened. So we'll talk about that in a minute. What I did here is the crank bolt is centered between the frame rails. So while the engine is not level, the crank bolt is where it needs to be. So I need to clear the pan, or make clearance for the pan, push the engine back, and I can level everything out. So let's walk around the other side. All right, so it's probably going to be a little hard to see, but you can see the corner right there is problematic. So if I can just straighten this cross member out, come back, and I want a rounded edge, then we can slide this back and get it setting level just fine. So that is today's plan of action. It's really just to cut and set it back in place. So let me set up the cameras and we'll try to do a time lapse here. And again, I don't have a ton of time to do this, so we'll see what we can knock out. Okay, so there you can see the notch. I was hoping to make a radius, but that little sheet metal saw and the angles did not work out. I also tried to make the radius, I think, too tight. So I can clean that up and box it in. The plan is to do a box in and then actually do an overlap on the top and the bottom, like an angle iron, if you want to think of it like that. I really do not like the square shoulder in there, so I might use a piece of Dom or something just to make that extra rigid. But there you have it. Let's go take a little break, and I'll explain that at the end, and we'll see if I can get this in. Alright, so what you didn't see off camera is that I just took a piece of 3/4 inch wood and I used plastic wrap, if you will, to wrap it so it's in place. That way I can get at least a finger height in there. Again, I don't have the mounts yet, they're on order. I'm using a different BMW mount. It's supposed to have supposed to be built in a way where internally, if the rubber fails, it is a liquid mount, but if there's a failure internally, it will not separate. So it's a BMW part, and it's not the factory E34 mount, but I want to wait for those to get the final height, but this would represent the minimum I would want to go. So let's put the engine in and slide it back, and we're going to have to take the intake manifold off at some point because the brake booster, it fits right here, you can see, or maybe you can't see from that distance. But let's get going.
Wanted to show clearance down here. So I can, it's about 3/4 of an inch probably from the pan, which is modified, to the cross member, and it's sitting on a 3/4 inch piece of wood. Okay, let's go to the other side. Now on the other side here, you'll see it's actually pretty good. I can make that transition. There's not enough room for me to get the camera and my hand down there, but by the oil level sending unit I can radius that a little bit and maybe chop it at an angle to make more room for the corner of the pan. Problem with this is of course the brake booster, so I can't set it down anymore. Hold this up as close to level as I can. I thought I had a level here, but for the bender, that's all I got in the shop, so that's not going to hack it. But you'll see that we are close, very close. So, but at the same time, I think it'll work. I could probably just bend a bracket and pull it back a little bit if need be, but I do think that that's going to be fine. I got to make sure those wires don't come loose either, or it's going to be a S show, if you want to call it that. Only concern now, other than the intake, which could be modified, is space. I will be running AC in this car, so I'm going to have to figure something out. Probably a hard line. Maybe I'll take it back to the firewall and run it inside because it's gutted. I don't know. I did measure, and the engine is centered at the crank pulley, but again, I can't come down to actually level it, and because it's at an angle, the transmission is about as good as it's going to get right now as well. Okay, so it looks like we are in business. I thought I was going to have to totally section out the cross member, but I do not. Alright, so let's talk oil pans. This pan has been modified, and let's go back to the other side and you'll get an idea of where it's at. Alright, so you can see that it was cut kind of the bolt after the oil level sending unit. So let's go over to this engine now and take a look at what that really means. Okay, so if we look at this, it was cut about this bolt right in here. So this whole section was taken out of the pan. So the intent is I'm going to replace that volume now that might have contributed to the wear on this thing. I'm sorry, the one in the car. I'm going to make a wing that comes out. It'll be 8 inches deep. I believe, I don't have the measurements in front of me, 3 inches out, and then 2.5. I just need to make sure that I have room to get the bolts on. I might have to put studs in there and then nuts, and then put the pan, or studs, the pan, then nuts, because I'll have room to do that. But either way, I think we're in shape. Again, I can't level it. The intake manifold. My engineer has been waiting on me for a very long time, and I feel really bad about that. So we have the start of the actual intake already done. So if I hold this up, is that the right way? Yes. You know, it looks like it's still going to have issues, maybe, unless I grabbed the wrong piece, but I don't think I did. No, I didn't. So we're going to have to go back and modify the design a little bit, but I really am not in a position to fully test this right now. So these last two runners need to come in, and I mean, look at the size difference, by the way, in those runners. And then we'll have a plentum. I'll probably make a smaller plentum that comes out a little shorter. And I want to keep the runners as long as possible. That's supposed to help with low end. But this runner, I think, needs to come across. Right? I don't like the short, stubby intakes. Yes, they look cool and all of that stuff, but I don't know how they really perform. And I know you can put it on a flow bench. You know, if you take the manifold off, it'll have infinite flow. It'll outperform everything compared to a flow bench in terms of cubic feet per minute. But that's not really what we're talking about. It's not the volume of air going through there. So yeah, I want to bring this across, and maybe this front runner is fine. Let me grab the other piece. Hope I'm not making you guys seasick. Right, so to me this looks fine. It's just this back runner. Need to position it really so that see the edge peeking out there. Yeah, so that's going to cause problems. The runners need to be closer together. But it's hard to do with all this crap on the car. So then that'll come later. You know, a lot of people think that when I post things that, you know, next week I can have a part out of production, and it doesn't work like that. Right? Here are exhaust manifolds. We are now on revision 5. One of them I have out. They're doing a box design to make sure they're more secure during shipping, and the other one is currently being 3D printed. But you can see in these things, we're learning as we go along, and we're changing the shape, the flange position, the waist gates, and this was the latest prior revision, if that makes sense. And what we've done now is we've actually changed it. It's more of this style with the runner. I'm sorry, this is the latest revision. Look at the way the runners are. So it's not a copy of everybody else's, and I'm starting to see them more and more on the market where people are just trying to reproduce a simple flat manifold, trying to put some thought into this, and they're dinged up because they were actually installed on a car to test fit. But the latest design is going to flow up. The runners will flow up into the flange more. They won't dead end. And also we're going to move this. We had fitment issues, and it will just be a plate. It uses I can't remember what engine or years, but a Volkswagen exhaust gasket and a cap. So you can go to any auto parts store, get that gasket if you need to, and then you can replace the cap with different flange styles on it. And initially it'll just be a block off, and then we'll have one once I have this in the car that is probably angled. It'll either I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know how we're going to angle it yet, but those will be CNC machined so that internal to that plate we carry this through. So it'll still be as divided as it can be through a machined part rather than a cast part. Anyhow, I went way off tangent. I was looking at the intake manifold, letting you know that that's in the works, but it's very low priority. Has been in the works. You know, I don't have a Mercedes chassis to test these on. The guys at Project Not So Slow have been really good to me, and they have been test fitting, but obviously they have to tear their car apart to test this. So test cycles are far and few between, and I got to wait for the engineer. His plate is very full, and then I have to wait for 3D printing, and then of course shipping. So each revision takes a significant amount of time, and once all that's done, pricing and minimum order quantity negotiated, then we get into making a mold. Then once we have the mold, we get into casting. So it's a long process. Okay, CD09. This video is all over the place. I can't hold the phone and lift that, but I went with an ACT clutch. There you go. And I had someone comment on making the plate thinner, and I did that. I think as thin as I can go, if I remember off the top of my head, was 15 millimeters. And right now it's sitting at 39, so that's quite a bit thinner. I do lose one locating pin on the transmission side, but with one pin, and if I can ship studs to help locate as it goes on, it will, I think, be a very solid offering still. All right, so losing 24 millimeters out of this thing is pretty good. I've lightened it up quite a bit. This whole design has changed, really. So that will not look like a coffee table anymore. It will be a lot smaller. The whole assembly is much less than a dual mass flywheel, and I'm excited. That's being machined now, so who knows when I'll see that, and I'm not ready for it even if it was here today. So there we have it. Geez, far more than you asked for. We notched the chassis, or notched the cross member. We got the engine in. We verified it should fit even if it's tight. We talked about the clutch system, CD09, and the oil pan with the wings on it, and what it takes to produce the parts like the manifold and the, well, intake and exhaust manifolds. All right, so I wasn't really going to get into this, but there are some medical things that are affecting my progress on this project. I'm just not, the productivity isn't there. And last spring, I believe it's spring, maybe summertime, whatever, in jiu-jitsu, I went up for a promotion and in front of the whole class, and I told my wife, you know, basically I'm not going to make it. I'm going to pass out. And sure enough, passed out, EMTs had to come, all of that. And they gave me an IV, which my body soaked up unbelievably fast. So they said I was just dehydrated. Well, I think it's more than that, because now I am consuming a tremendous amount of water. And that feeling I get like I'm going to pass out is coming more and more frequently. For those of you that were on the Ben's Force site earlier in the week, you saw an away notice. Took a quick trip to South Texas and then into Mexico, and it happened twice that day. And it's happening daily now. And I'm not blacking out, but I know it's coming. So I just try to pound water and sit down. And again, I don't want to get into all of that. But when that happens, once it sets in, I can't work on the car. Things are too heavy, and the power tools become dangerous, because if the lights go out for me and I'm holding a Sawzall or a grinder that's on in the locked position, then it could be the end of me, and it's just not worth it. So anyhow, it's not a pity party. I'm going to figure out what's wrong. But I just wanted to explain that progress is going to be extremely slow, and it is what it is. And so I got to take baby steps on this, and just notching the little frame and doing a test fit. That's all I can do today. So like I said, it is what it is. But it'll all get straightened out. I'm not worried about anything, good or bad. I'm blessed. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. All is good. I'll just be slower. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.